Hi, my name is Mark Monlux, and it's time now for your Friday night movie recommendation. I want to take you back to 1971. Popular TV, pardon me, newly premiered TV shows were All in a Family, which offered a disclaimer when it first aired, saying, "Hey, this might offend you," but quickly became the number one TV show in the U.S. Also, The Electric Company on PBS started, as did, not on PBS, the Sonny and Cher Comedy Hour. Okay. The Three Dog Night was playing Joy to the World, and that made the Billboard Top 100. The number one, the best movie Oscar that year was The French Connection with Gene Hackman. Uh, it also won a bunch of other Oscars as well. I think Gene Hackman walked away with one. I think what was it? Went away with best screenplay, and there was another one, but it's slipping my mind right now. 1971 is also when Walt Disney World opened up to the public. There was also a march on Washington, D.C., where 500,000 individuals protested against the war in Vietnam. This was the largest protest against the war that the U.S. was in that had ever been held. Uh, at the exact same time, across the country in San Francisco, 125,000 people gathered. So the movement was huge. Um, Evel Knievel set a world record and jumped 19 cars. There was also the fourth moon landing happened, and we got to see the moon buggy. I remember watching the moon buggy and going, "Oh, that's so cool! There's a car on the moon." Oh, anyway, so the movie I want to talk about that came out in 1971 is a film by George Lucas. When he did this film, he initially did this film as a student film. Um, and that got such attention that some studios approached him and he made it into a full feature. And it is THX-1138. This film is set in the far future dystopian world where sex and reproduction is outlawed, and it's mandatory to take mind-altering drugs to keep you pretty much in a drone-like state to serve the state. Um, for a unique, to make everyone look like drones, everybody's wearing white. All the walls are white. There aren't really any windows because there's no outside. This seems to be subterranean or inside a building or just enclosed, and that lends to the sense of, regardless how big the rooms is, of entrapment. And also to add to the drone effect, both the male and the female actors all have shaved heads. Matter of fact, you're wondering, where did they get all these? All these extras have shaved heads too. Well, there happened to be a drug recovery center, and part of its treatment plan was, for all the people there to have shaved heads. So they came and acted as extras. The future is kind of bleak because, the state, everything is state run. The religion is state run. The TV shows are state run, but in such a mind-boggling, simple way that no one really fights against it. They're so drugged, brainwashed, what have you. The story of this film is not a very big story. What George Lucas really is highly successful at is creating an atmosphere, a feel. You're there. You're in this dystopian setting. You're kind of cringing. You're kind of wondering, why are these you cannot you empathize with these people because you can see how they're struggling to find traces of themselves, of humanity, when it's all been pulled away from them. The the authority force in this film is AI. They're all robots, and they kind of have this military appearance. Now, keep in mind with the war in Vietnam, this had a certain tone to it. One of the things that this film was really successful to me was it got me thinking about drugs and addiction. Not that how for entertainment, but as a necessity, how people can impose that particular necessity upon you. And that kind of sent shivers up and down my spine. Now, the film didn't do that well in the box office. It didn't make money for the studios. However, and even reviewers, the reviews were kind of mixed. But it quickly became a cult film. And it was good enough that when George Lucas decided to do his next project, which would become Star Wars, it basically gave him the ability, his student film had enough spark to it to get this film done. This film had enough spark to it to get Star Wars done. And of course, once everyone saw Star Wars, they wanted to see, hey, what did George do before this? And that kind of lent an interest to THX-1138. Now, if the initials THX sound familiar, it's because those initials are part of the sound system that his companies came up with later on. And the initials and the numbers, there's a lot of theories of where they came from, whether or not they were a variation of his home phone number, but they do pop up in a lot of the other films. Various robots have numbers and initials. It's sort of like an Easter egg to follow through all of his films. So that's my recommendation for you tonight, is George Lucas's THX-1138. You'll see some familiar faces. I think you'll be really interested by it. I certainly would. I would watch it again. You're going to have to hunt this down. This is a good enough film that it's kept behind somebody's gateway. So, but definitely track it down. You can find this film. You can watch it. And even if you have to rent it, it's worthwhile. Now, if you like this movie recommendation, please watch my others. I have a YouTube channel and a TikTok channel. A link to the trailer will be down below in the doobly-doo. If you get this on YouTube, please do all those, click, like, subscribe, what have you. I also do unboxings every now and then and other random stuff. So until next week, I'll see you at the movies. Oh, wait a minute, that's somebody else's catchphrase.